Hey Clan, I really like your YouTube videos. They're really cool. And every time I'm busy, I hear my dad. Um, I hear my dad hearing your YouTube videos all the time, man. I was just wondering, do you have any advice for an 11-year-old on real estate and investing? And if you have any kids, do you like teach them anything? Because I would really like to know. Thank you, Clan. And by the way, your videos are really awesome. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Drew. And lovely question from an 11-year-old listener, Drew. And by the way, my son Miles is 11 years old. So to answer your question, absolutely. And you are well ahead of the game, my friend, because growing up, I did not learn the things that your dad is listening to and that you are asking about right now. I didn't learn this in school. Schools in the United States simply don't teach financial intelligence. It's just not part of the curriculum. They might teach you how to balance a checkbook. That might be the only thing you'll actually learn in school. But you're asking the right question. You're asking, what should I as a young person be doing now to learn about real estate investing, passive income, and those things? You might not have really realized that you've been even really asking about passive income. So, yes, I think one of the things that maybe you should ask your dad to do is to buy Robert Kiyosaki and the team at Rich Dad have an amazing board game. It's called the Cash Flow Game. Okay. I highly recommend this game for young people and for families. It doesn't even, your dad would benefit from this as well. Get the Cash Flow Game. Okay. Sit down and say, Dad, I want to play this game. Now, there's a one that's for like adults. It's a little bit more difficult, and there's one for kids. Like, get the main one for kids. Okay. Sit down and play this game. It's, in some ways, it's like Monopoly, but you're going to learn like buying performing assets, which is, a rental property, and avoiding in your life, Drew, buying liabilities. Anytime, and it's very simple to know. When I sit down with my son, one of the things we will play this at dinner sometimes is this little game, and you can ask your dad, you can ask your parents when you're at dinner. Say, hey, Dad, let's play performing assets versus liabilities. Let's play that game, okay? And what you can do is go around the table and name certain things that you think are performing assets, and then try to name things that are liabilities. And then one part of the game that we like to play with our kids is, how do you take one of those liabilities and turn it into a performing asset? So again, a performing asset simply is something that puts cash flow in your pocket every month. And people who live in a house that they pay a mortgage, and they live in a property where they live, that is not a performing asset. Right? That is not providing cash flow for you every month. In fact, it's taking money out of your dad's pocket every month if he lives in a house and pays a mortgage. And the same thing is true of buying a car, right? That car is a liability, and you're paying a car payment. And so our goal in life should be to, how do we limit our purchases of liabilities? Or if we're buying liabilities, if we want to buy a boat or we want to buy a car, we want to use the performing assets to buy the liability. And my friend, that is like the secret of the universe right there. That is the financial secret of the universe, is to be able to use the cash flow from performing assets. So if your dad has 5 or 6 rental properties, and each month those are providing a few $1,000s, your dad should be using that cash flow to buy his boat, his car, and things like that, or going out to dinner with the family, taking vacations, right? These are things that are not going to produce cash flow, but are obviously very important to living and enjoying life, like taking trips with your family. Very important. So you're starting at a great age. I would absolutely say to buy the cash flow game and play it with your family. That to me is absolutely the best way for you at your age to be learning about building and buying performing assets as you get a little bit older, and not buying like a lot of kids your age, when they turn 16, 17, 18, they're going to want to buy a car. Well, how can you not do that? How can you be smarter about that? And so you're planting the seeds now, Drew, and I love this question. There's also, Robert, as I mentioned here on the show, Robert Kiyosaki is a friend of mine. He's got great things for kids. I mean, the cash flow game is great. And I believe he also has a Rich Dad, Poor Dad for Kids book that you could read, probably for an 11, 12, 13-year-old. I would have your parents check that out, look it up on Amazon, and see if they have a Rich Dad, Poor Dad book for kids. The adult book might be a little too much for you. There's some concepts in there that might just not sit well with you as an 11-year-old. But that's where I would start, my friend. Those two areas, play those games at dinner, naming performing assets and liabilities, and how do you convert a liability like a car into a performing asset? Perhaps it's, that owner of that car becomes an Uber driver or rents that car out to somebody to use. There's different ways to play the game. So thank you, Drew, for that great question. I'd love to hear that the young kids are listening to it. I'd love for you to send us a voicemail question. You can do so just by going to our website. Go to morrisinvest.com, click on the little microphone icon, and leave us a 30-second voicemail question, and we will attempt to answer it here on the show. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for sharing this with people in your family. Thanks to Dad for sharing it with Drew, 11-year-old Drew. That's awesome. And thanks to all of you for going out there, taking action, becoming a real estate investor. I believe it's the #1 way to build wealth. We'll see you next time.